One morning I woke up and I knew.
What's up, boys? Welcome back to another flowing video. Today we're doing my favorite part of this build, what we've all been waiting for. We finally got our crank and cylinder back from the shop. Shout out to X Pro for hooking us up and getting the job done right. Hopefully we can get this done in a reasonable amount of time. Definitely don't want to mess anything up, but let's jump right into it. We got a special guest today. We got Lulu, the shop dog. I'm dog sitting. This is my aunt's dog, Lulu. She's a good girl. Roll over, Lulu. Roll over. Good girl. Sit, Lulu, sit. Good girl.
Sit, Rex, sit. Roll over, Rex. Roll over. Now stay, Rex, stay. Good boy, Rex.
Before I slide these in, just want to let you guys know I did get genuine OEM main bearings. We got some OEM main bearing seals, and we did get a Tusk high performance oil seal kit. You want to make sure the bearing seal is sitting nice and flush with the recess of the case. We're back here with KJM Industries helping us install the bearings. He's got a press. I didn't want to damage the main bearings. Should go a lot easier. Go in the press. I heard it. We got a clutch arm bearing in here really deep, so the blind bearing puller will not work to get it out. I'm sure people have run into this problem. I just want to give you a quick rundown. Kyle here is an expert mechanic. This is what he does for a living. We had to get the bearing out of the clutch sleeve, and I needed some help doing this. So Kyle, please tell everyone what you did.
This thing was a pain. The top bearing's pretty easy. Aiden got that out no problem. The bottom bearing, there's no good way to pull it out because there's little to no lip underneath it to put anything to pull it out. Besides the fact it's a deep hole, the diameter is so small, you're not going to fit any real type of puller in there. So ground down some taps to try to thread it in. That didn't work. Broke the cage, got the needles out, put the taps in. That didn't work. Didn't want to weld on it. You can't really weld on it because it's so far down in there. I have drill bits, silver and Deming bits that go up to 1 inch by 64ths. So I took the drill bits roughly the right size, put them in, and when I got just the right size bit that it wouldn't go through, I turned it by hand with a pair of vice grips, and after 20-30 minutes I was able to break enough of it and get it free enough that I pulled it out with the drill bit. So we have the new bearings now. I'm going to try fitting the bottom one in, and if we need to, we can finish clean it up with either a rotary wire wheel or some expandable hand reamers. So I already got all the bearings in. We're going to install our bearing retainer bolts and go from there. First time building a motor, we'll see how it goes. Just to clarify, this is for a 1999 Kawasaki KX250. Not sure what other years this stuff is applicable to. I'm gonna be using Honda Lock 2HT on all of the bearing retainer bolts in here. It's just a high temp, medium strength Loctite. First step, we're gonna install these 8mm bolts to hold this bearing right here in place. We're going to torque these to 78 inch-pounds. Torque rating of 48 inch-pounds. We're going to throw a little punch peen in these screws just to make sure that they don't pop out ever. Alright guys, so I don't know where I left off in this video, but I unfortunately blew a crank seal trying to install the crank. I actually got the crank in, but it just tore the seal apart, so I'm gonna make sure not to do that this time. We got a new seal, let's install that and we'll put the crank back in. Got the new OEM main bearing, fresh out the freezer. Main bearing going in. Cap full of 2-stroke oil. Want to move kind of quick here. Got the crank. She's in. The seal is mint.
that went a lot better this time. I think the key is getting that hot, getting the crank nice and cold, and slides in. Fresh OEM bearing. So now we're gonna install the shift forks. I have number 2 here. It's got the pin all the way at the top. Kind of looks like this. I'm gonna lube up the claws on both sides. And this one just slides right under here in this little slot. Shift fork C, slot on the bottom. Shift fork B, number 249. On this slot right here. And we can install our shift drum. I got this thing all lubed up. Slide these into position. Gotta lift up on them. Shift pins. Should spin buttery smooth. Contact cleaner. Just want to clean off the gasket surfaces here. Got some Yamabond 4. Just want to paint all around the case here. Just line these up. For the KX250, we're gonna need this special piece here. You have to order that separately with the puller itself. Give this side a couple taps. We got the cases put together here. Unfortunately, we got a problem here that I'm discovering. It fully spins around, but it's getting slightly caught in here. It shouldn't have any resistance, and I feel some. So I think what happened is one of the crank bearings is not pressed in all the way. That's kind of unfortunate because, you know, I gotta split the cases apart and put the crank back in, but I really want to make sure that we have everything right. I'm just gonna do it. I don't want to, but better safe than sorry. It's hard to tell just by looking at it, but I think this bottom side might be pushed out slightly, but we're gonna go ahead and make sure that thing's gonna be in there and get that straightened out. I think this might be the 3rd or 4th time I've had this case apart, but something was not going right when I was trying to put this thing together. The transmission would not spin freely when I torqued the case down or just even put pressure on the bolts. It led me to this transmission bearing in here, and this thing was actually slightly off axis. I'm not exactly sure how that happened. We're gonna get this bearing in straight and go at it again. The surface got a little bit marred up. I took some 1000 grit sandpaper and just smoothed out the surface. See, our bearing retainers are sitting nice and flush now. Before they were a little crooked and I just didn't really notice it until I realized there was an issue. But we got some fresh screws that we'll install here. So just gonna screw them in first and then we'll torque them. For the 3rd and final time, let's attempt to put these cases together. Let's put on the Yamabond, hopefully for the last time. I think we got it, boys. So last up, this part is important. We gotta snug down all the bolts here to make sure that the tranny will still spin smoothly, and then we can torque all of the case bolts and hopefully be done with this. So we got these all snugged down. Everything's still spinning smoothly. Tranny's still spinning. I'm gonna start with all of the bolts around the crank, and we're gonna do a crisscross pattern. And that's it. Cases are torqued, tranny spins, crank spins, we're good to go. Torque these to 78 inch-pounds. Little washer sits right here. Set this to 17 foot-pounds. 31 foot-pounds. So I put the shifter on this side. We can see whether this thing is shifting properly right now. It is in first gear, and we're gonna shift all the way up to fifth gear. So we're gonna do that by spinning the main shaft and shifting at the same time. So first gear, second gear, third, fourth, fifth. First, idler gear. All right, next we have the Kickstarter assembly. Primary drive gear. Water pump drive gear. Alright guys, well I'm waiting for some parts to come in the mail. I figured I would take a shot at coating this stator cover. Kawasaki actually discontinued these, so you cannot buy a new one. This one's pretty scuffed up, and I want it to look fresh for the build, obviously. So I figured I would put a fresh coating of Cerakote on top of this to give it a fresh new look and to match the clutch side cover, which I already Cerakoted in a graphite black. So typically Cerakote is used to coat metal surfaces, but from the research that I found, it can be used on some hardened plastics. I figured I would give it a shot on this stator cover. Worst case, I can order a brand used one and try and finish it a different way, but I think Cerakote is gonna hold up nice and I can get the exact color match to the clutch side cover. I'm gonna do the chain guide here for the front sprocket. Gonna follow the standard Cerakote procedure and cure them at a lower temperature than I would for the metal and see if they'll hold. Let's go ahead and give it a shot, get these things cleaned up, and then we'll coat them in a graphite black. So I got the stator cover and the case saver gassing out in the oven here. We got them set at 150 degrees. I'm gonna leave them in here for about half an hour. Hopefully they don't melt or warp. Alright boys, top of the morning to you. Enjoying my morning coffee. Figured I would start the day off by unboxing our brand new Rekluse Clutch. Figured I would go all out on this motor to the KX250 and get her primed right with some Rekluse power. This thing's gonna have some grab to it. I've heard these Rekluse clutches are really good. This is a torque drive version, so basically comparable to a standard clutch, but it has extra friction plates and steel plates. This thing wasn't cheap. We're going all out on this build, boys. Gotta bite the bullet sometimes, but I'm excited for this. Let's get this unboxed and we will put the friction plates in the oil. Yeah, wow, that looks sick. And this clutch also comes with these guards here for your clutch basket, so it prevents wear. That's another reason why I like this clutch and ended up purchasing it. These things here make a big difference over time. Gonna let these soak in here for 12 hours. So these sleeves are pretty simple. You want the tabs facing on the inside of the basket. So I got the Tusk clutch holder. Gotta use this to hold the inner basket here. Torque this nut to 72 foot-pounds. We have one thick disc. I looked at the Rekluse manual and it said that this disc sits all the way at the bottom. We're gonna put this one in first and then we can install all of the other plates. Next step is to install the clutch arm. The clutch rod will come through and hit this piece of the arm, and that's how it's actuated. Freshly Cerakoted, by the way. Per the Rekluse manual, we are going to torque these to 81 inch-pounds. So I already set up this right side case here. We have the water pump bearing in here, and behind it we have 2 seals. So the oil seal sits in first, and it's got a large concave scoop that's gonna face outward. Next, we have the water seal. Same thing. There's a flat side and there's a concave side, and that's gonna face outward towards the impeller, which sits on top of here. So here we got the exhaust valve governor, got a gear on this end, and we got a little slot in here. That slot is gonna slide right onto the shaft. A little bit of contact cleaner, clean up the surface. Case bolts dropping in. Now we can torque to 78 inch-pounds. Now we got the stator, Yama bond on the seal here. There is a little timing notch here, so we had that in the middle when we took this thing apart, and we're gonna put it back in the same position. Flywheel, gonna match this up with the Woodruff key. So we're gonna have to wait to torque this nut until the engine is completely together. I gotta put a piston stop to lock the engine in order to torque this nut here, so we'll come back to this when everything's all together. And just for looks, we're gonna throw this on. Now we have 2 O-rings and then this collar. It's got a little flanged end. The flanged end is gonna sit towards the engine. Put these 2 O-rings on first. Push that down in there. Well, forgot to film an outro to this video. Currently in Cape Cod on vacation. Got the 2 jet toys behind me. My lovely Super Jet, and of course, the sit down. Boys are coming up tomorrow. We're gonna do some ocean ripping. Forgot to film an outro to the motor build, so we're filming it right now. I ran into some issues with the bearings being seated incorrectly. After a few tries, we finally got the motor put together. Had a few problems putting this engine together. We worked them out after carefully diagnosing each problem, going back, fixing it correctly. It came out beautiful, and I'm happy I took my time with it. So without further ado, let's show you guys the engine. Also, maybe we'll get some jet ski content this week. Try something new.